Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, all commissioners are present, along with the county attorney, our manager, and our finance officer. I'd like to welcome you this evening. Remind you to please silence all your mobile devices. Please be sure they're on vibrate so that they don't disturb our meeting tonight. If you come to the lectern to speak tonight, please be sure the microphone is turned on. There'll be a red light that'll be on the top of the microphone, so please take care of that also. Pleased to have with us tonight Pastor Keith Barnett from Bridge Worship Center Ministries International to provide our invocation. And following our invocation, I'll ask you to remain standing as our county attorney leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's stand together, please.
That we begin to operate in and work on. That God, that Lord, we can look towards you for all the answers. That Lord, that they'll be able to pray without worry, pray without oppression, but pray for an answer. That Lord, knowing that you're going to give them the answer. We ask you, Lord, for the guidance, the protection, the overseeing and the power to overcome the evil, to overcome the oppressions, to be able to watch, as you had said for us, to watch and pray. That, Lord, we'll begin to watch over each other, watch for one another, that give no place to the enemy, give no place to the devil. That, God, that your glory can be seen in everything that we see, everything that we do, and everything that we pray. That, Lord, that we'll be able to give you the glory in all things that man has begun to do for the glory of God. That things that are not even begin to be seen yet, that, Lord, we'll know that your hand is upon them as we begin to do the construction and the work for the county, for the officers and the jail systems and the social services and all the different things that, Lord, we need your hand in. Lord, as we lean on you, that you begin to operate and do great miracles in them. Lord, do the things that no one else could ever do, so that we can glorify your name in all these things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Please join me in the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, gentlemen, you've had the agenda for tonight's meeting for some time. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. Tonight we have a number of meeting minutes to approve. We have September 19, 2023 Burke County Commission regular meeting, October 3rd, 2023 Board of Commissioners special meeting, October 3 Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting, October 17th, 2023 Board of Commissioners regular meeting, November 7th, 2023 Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting, and then November 21, 2023 Board of Commissioners regular meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes as recited by yourself as they were written.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That's 5-0. Tonight we have several presentations. We're glad to have tonight Animal Services presenting Pet of the Month, and this will be presented by Kay Drone. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the audience. I'm filling in for Caitlin Settlemyer tonight, who's a little under the weather, so I'll do my best. Okay, this is Nala. She is a 3-year-old spayed cattle dog. She came to the Animal Services Center with a litter of puppies that have all been adopted, and she is on the hunt for her forever home. Nala is a wonderful dog who gets along well with other dogs and cats. She's also been around children over the age of 6 and has done very well with them. Nala would enjoy a moderately active home that can meet her exercise and enrichment needs. This is Mika. Mika is a 3-year-old spayed domestic short-hair female cat that is full of sass. This chunky kitty wants all your attention, but only when she wants it. She rules her kennel and will let you know when you're not fluffing her blankets correctly. If you're looking for a sassy little lady that knows exactly what she wants, then Mika is your girl. Next, we have our Read to a Dog program. This is a partnership with the Burke County Library and the Library Foundation and the Animal Services Center. Reading aloud to a dog improves a child's reading abilities, specifically reading fluency. Makes kids more comfortable because dogs offer a comforting, non-judgmental presence. Reading to a dog improves children's attitudes towards reading, which can be key to determining a child's educational success. And reading to a dog can improve a child's self-confidence, especially at school. The next event is Thursday, February 22nd at 4 p.m. at the Animal Services Center. Participants are asked to call 764-9274 to register, but drop-ins are welcome. The second annual Wolfstock event is scheduled for Sunday, May 19th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Silver Fork Winery and Vineyard. This is a collaborative effort between the Animal Services Foundation, Inc., Paws and Claws of Morganton, Burke County Animal Services, Pickled Pig Barbecue, and our wonderful host, Silver Fork Winery. The purpose of this event is to raise money for Burke County's new animal shelter. Advance tickets are $20 each. They can be purchased on the ASFI website or by mailing a check to ASFI, Post Office Box 52, Morganton. Tickets will be $25 at the gate. And sponsorships are available and range from $250 to $1,000. Next, I'd like to report to you about Animal Services' live release rate for the month of January. They had a live release rate of 91% for dogs and 88% for cats. As you may know, no kill for an animal shelter is 90%, so they've done an outstanding job. And currently we have 20 dogs and 28 cats at the Animal Services Center. And on your screen, you'll see their contact information. They're located at 425 Kirksey Drive in Morganton, and you can reach them at 764-9588. Be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this item? All right, seeing here none, we appreciate your presentation.
Thank
you very much. All right, now we'll have a presentation from the Burke County Chamber of Commerce, proclamation declaring March 20 to 27 as Spring Litter Sweep. And tonight we have with us our Chamber Executive, Tanya Stevenson. Evening, Tanya.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners, Manager, Clerk, for having us here tonight. We are excited to put together our third annual Burke County Chamber of Commerce Litter Sweep, running from March 20th and March 27th. We couldn't do it without the partnership with Burke County, and we greatly appreciate all that you do. The convenience site attendants are so helpful, and they're great to fill out our forms and help us to be able to give away the prizes. I also want to say thank you to Republic Services. They are our partners in this endeavor and have helped us get in some recycling as well. So people can pick up trash and do recycling bags as well, and that just helps the entire environment, where we're trying to help the beauty of our county. I also want to say we can't do it without the help of NCDOT for all their support and help. Jenna Cole on our staff is the one that runs this program. I wish she could be with me tonight, but they're doing an emerging leaders group tonight, so there's probably not any young people in here tonight. But please let Jenna know if you see her how much we appreciate her work. In our 2023 litter sweep, we had 240 registered, and we picked up over 239 bags of trash, as well as 24 bags of recycling. And then there was extras, 14 plus of several large items, which included at least 3 car batteries, 8 tires, and 3 sofas. All of that's off the streets because of what we did in 2023. And we couldn't do it without the partners of the teams that come from anything from youth groups to church groups to businesses who put a group together to one-man show. Can have a group of friends can get together and do this. So we want everyone to participate and help us out. We do give incentives for this. We have prizes. The first place prize is $500. Last year was won by the one-man team of Gary Jennings. We give a second place prize. Last year was won by Loving Our Neighbors. They were a group of people who went out on behalf of BUCM. And then third place prize was a Girl Scout troop, Troop 2396. They got $100 for their efforts in litter sweep. So they got a prize, and Kay is always sweet enough to give a county walking stick to the winning teams as well. But we do need everyone to participate and help. Unfortunately, there's people that litter. There's also trucks. I know Johnny's talked about many times trucks that don't secure their trash well. So we want to do our part to try to help get some of this litter cleaned up off our streets in Burke County. Questions?
All right, Tanya, thank you very much. Gentlemen, any questions for Tanya?
Mr. Chairman, we've all been on this road for a long time trying to keep the trash off of our roads. One thing I did want to mention, I really appreciate all those volunteers, but the other weeks of the year we do have a program, and I'm going to have our county manager mention this, so if the public is not aware of this, we've got access to clean the streets as well.
Yeah, so July 1st of this year, as part of our new budget, which actually began back 8 months ago now, hard to believe, we launched a community beautification campaign. This really multifaceted approach. We know that community beautification doesn't start with picking up litter; it starts with preventing it. So there's a marketing, arm that hopes to encourage folks to not litter. But in those instances where it does happen, there's a link on our website on the front page for community beautification that allows folks to give us addresses and areas, and we're able to deploy a team to get that picked up. And the fortunate or unfortunate side is they stay pretty busy. There's plenty to do, and I don't have the data in front of me on the exact tonnage yet, but I can tell you it's hundreds of bags in the first 8 months. And so we encourage people to keep reporting, and then ultimately over time we want to carve that out, and so to prevent it from even getting there. But hope that answers your question, sir.
May I add to that? One thing that we were hoping would be a part of the educational process, especially if we had more younger people, youth groups and Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, that they would learn that, somebody's got to go clean that up so that they don't do, we're hoping that education is a part of that as well. So that's great.
All right, thank you, Tanya. Any other questions? All right, gentlemen, hearing none, you have before you proclamation declaring March 20, 27, 2024, proclamation number 202401. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move to approve proclamation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor indicate by the uplifted hand. That is 5-0. Thank you very much, Tanya.
Thank you.
Item number 3 on the presentations is post-revaluation tax rate analysis. This will be presented by our county manager, Mr. Brian Epley. Evening, Brian.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity. As you all know, we are well underway into our 23-24 fiscal year budget, and beginning conversations for 24-25. Our fiscal year obviously runs July 1st through June 30th. And typically, around this time of year, we'll begin to discuss how we're performing. We delivered your mid-year financial report at your last meeting 2 weeks ago, and we want to continue to have this conversation about operational performance as we head into next year's budget season, including kicking off your policy setting work session on March the 7th and March the 8th. It's a 2-day retreat where you'll go away and evaluate all of your legislative priorities, funding responsibilities, and do things like talk about the tax rate. I wanted to take just a few minutes tonight to kind of highlight some of our performance so far this year, but specifically reflect on the post-revaluation, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that is. But as we all know, January the 1st, 2023 was a mandatory revaluation process regulated and overseen by the North Carolina Department of Revenue. And as we've concluded that process, where we saw an unprecedented increase in taxing values for real property being structures and land. We obviously saw values climb dramatically, but that gave this board the opportunity to evaluate your taxing rate and reduce it. And I wanted to kind of talk through how that positioned us as we kick off the budget season. So the first thing that I would say, and again, all of us have heard this, seen this slide and talked about this many times, but I think it's critical to highlight that we've really taken a leadership role in the industry and are trying to pursue high performance as an organization. And really that's measured in many ways, but one of the ways is how do we really expand and deliver premium service in all the departments that we have, about 28 operational departments, while doing so without increasing taxing burden. And I think that's a good, if you're looking for key performance indicators, I think that's a good measure of how a local government can perform. Taxation obviously isn't a topic that's very popular often, and all of us are contributors. But I think that the real balance here is trying to deliver value. We all know that the services that are provided, many of which we are recipients of often and don't even realize it. But the goal is to deliver value that exceeds what that may look like. And as I pointed out, and we'll talk again more about what revaluation is and how this was accomplished, but as we saw those values increasing, I think that it's important to point out that tax rate was able to decrease to offset that price. If again, how do we deliver high value of services, what our citizens and taxpayers are receiving from local government departments without overburdening the price. And here's just one optic that I'll lead off with tonight to say prior, if we're talking about pre versus post revaluation, prior to July 1 of 2023, Burke County had a 69.5 cent tax rate. And that was ranked 58th out of the 100 counties in North Carolina. As we saw values increase, we were able to offset those value increases with a decrease in your rate, reducing it from 69.5 cents to 56 cents. That's approximately a 20% reduction, and we were able to reposition Burke County government from the 58th highest tax rate in North Carolina to the 28th. So as we sit here today, only 27 counties in North Carolina are able to provide services at a lower taxing rate. And we know that that's highly accomplishable through a philosophy of managed spend. We try to approach local government with an entrepreneurial mindset. We try to measure return on investment. We try to make decisions in a way that we believe promote high performance and look through the lens of efficiency. And when we look really comparing ourselves to similar counties, these would be counties that the local government commission. And as a reminder, the local government commission is a function of the Department of Treasury at the state level, and it's really the financial oversight body that we all report to in public government in North Carolina. That's all towns, cities, and counties. And we're able to extrapolate similar counties to benchmark against. And that's what this graph is showing. And our average benchmark counties are there in the blue. Burke County's average spend for our general fund, which is our primary operating fund, is there in the orange. The other thing that we try, excuse me, to keep a good pulse on, and as we evaluate contributing value to the community and balancing that with price is, what are we charging our consumers? Any industry that's able to survive in the market, public or private, typically the value that they create exceeds their cost, and consumers are willing to pay that, and that's how the business continues to operate. So here I've tried to put up an optic that kind of simulates the same thing in local government. I've provided on the left-hand side all of the services and departments that we provide. And on the far right-hand column, I've put what the annual cost of those services are. Now, this first chart, as you can see there in the middle, are services that we're required by the state of North Carolina to provide. As you all know, we're a political subdivision created by the General Assembly, Much of what we do, the primary components of what we do, are services that they require us to do as their subdivision. And that's what this first chart is. But generally, for context, what this is demonstrating is for 911 communications, the average consumer in Burke County pays about $23 per year. That's roughly $1.90 per month to ensure that when you dial 911, somebody within 2 seconds is going to answer the phone. They're going to be trained. They're going to have the technology, the resources they need to deploy the appropriate emergency response, and that they're going to do so in an accurate and timely fashion. And again, so forth and so on for the other services through on this chart. Now this chart shows services and departments that we offer that are not required by statute, but at a policy level, there's a community need. And again, the same concept with what is the average cost per person to provide that service on an annual basis. Now, when you summarize all those in total, that arrives at about $622 per person for taxing revenue in Burke County, which again, as we'll see in a moment, compares favorably when we look across the state. I'll talk briefly about revaluation, again, as we're trying to evaluate how we concluded the revaluation process. As a reminder, that only happens once every 4 years. So people's homes, buildings, and land, the tax value on that only changes every 4 years. And that's problematic because the state of North Carolina requires that we follow the ad valorem taxing method, right? So that's not something that we have discretion, or this board has discretion on. Ad valorem is Latin for what's the value. It's essentially saying the value of the property that you own should generate the tax. And as we know, market is constantly changing. Supply and demand dictates market, and the Department of Revenue, who's the overseeing regulatory agency, requires that we keep our tax values within 15% of market. And so, as we've seen really over the last couple of years in the real estate market, when land and houses there's such a high demand with low supply, and as we saw with supply chain issues with materials and labor through the pandemic, it really drove prices up, and those prices increasing drove the market up, which created separation between market, which is changing fluidly, and taxing values, which only change during a revaluation. So they're static other than every 4 years when they get adjusted. But that's what revaluation is. It's trying to reconcile tax values to market value. And I mentioned that the law says if we're more than 15% out of market, we have to do a revaluation. And last year we were about 40%. The tax values remained stagnant from 2019. Market values increased, and that created that gap that triggered a statutory and legal revaluation process. This must be a good slide. My clicker has decided to let us all look at it for a long time. Maybe it'll change in a moment. Scott, can you help advance it? Oh, there we go. So this slide is just, and I'll see if it works. Now it works. So there you go. This slide is just comparing Burke to McDowell, Catawba, Cleveland, and Lincoln, some of our regional peers. And I think the point is to demonstrate the increase in market value, since it's something unique to Burke County. We've really seen this housing shortage, which has driven prices up really all across Western North Carolina. But again, I think the point is, as values go up, the rate is also a variable in that equation that ultimately generates what we have to pay. And most people are most concerned with what is the amount that I'm required to pay, and I'll call that tax levy. And that is a product of two variables in an equation. We know that property values went up substantially, and I just indicated that our taxing rate was able to be reduced about 20%, roughly 13.5 cents. Ultimately making low to no impact on what the average person is required to pay. We've also looked at really how we compare to our to other taxing authorities in Burke County. Here the blue bar shows what percentage for the other public entities in Burke County who levy a tax pre and post revaluation. What was the decrease in their taxing rate? The blue signifies that. So the higher the blue bar, the more proportionally they were able to decrease their rate. And what I point out is this board was able to do so more so than really any other taxing authority in Burke County. The orange bar shows what percentage of the levy increased. And these obviously have an inverse relationship. The more you decrease the rate, the lower your orange bar is going to increase. And what you can see there is we compare very favorably as well. So what's the outcome from that? I mentioned that when we compare what we're asking our taxpayers to pay for county taxes only, that we compare very favorably. And I also mentioned that the taxing rate was able to go down roughly 20%. Pre-revaluation, this is an optic that demonstrates what we call per capita taxing burden. So this is what does the average person have to pay. And last year, pre-revaluation, again, based on 2019 values, the average consumer in Burke County paid $599 per year. And if you think back to the tables that I showed of services and what their average cost was, pre-revaluation, it added up to $599, which was the 83rd cheapest in North Carolina. And post-reval, because we were able to reduce the rate so much, our taxing burden increased from $599 to $622. That's $23 a year, $1.90 per month. But we were able to remain 83rd lowest in North Carolina. And again, as a product of the rate increase. So again, Mr. Chairman, as we move into the budget season, as we move into your work session on March the 7th and March the 8th, I hope that that gives the board a better indication of how we're positioned from our taxing rate perspective. As you know and are very aware, property tax rate's about 55% of our total revenue portfolio. We're always looking for ways to diversify that and look for alternative funding strategies, whether that's looking to grow investment income, or whether that's grants, or whether that's looking for ways to have a cost recoupment system or budget engineering and reduce cost and think about local government in more of an innovative entrepreneurial way. But I hope this, again, helps set the tone as we enter the 24-25 budget season. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Brian. The gentleman, any questions for Brian on his presentation? All right, seeing here none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the presentation.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the presentation.
Mr. Burns, all those in favor indicate by the uplifted hand. It's 5-0. Thank you, Brian. This brings us to presentation number 4. It comes from our Soil and Water Group. The department update will be presented tonight by Leanne Branch, our Soil and Water Director. Good evening, Leanne.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing us time to give you a quick departmental update from Soil and Water. I'm Leanne Branch, the Director, and this is Spencer Stock, and he's been with us about 2.5 months. We also have with us our Board Vice Chair, Evan Crawley, and member, Joe Wenzel. So on this first slide, you'll just see a list of the programs that we administer. We use acronyms for everything, so I'm not going to go through and read all of those. We receive funding from the state of North Carolina, from USDA, to implement best management practices on agricultural and non-agricultural lands. And in 2020, the 2023-24 budget, we received $786,879 to implement these BMPs in Burke County. So this year, there was a new program that was implemented, and it's called STRAP, Stream Flow Rehabilitation Assistance Program. And the goal of STRAP was to remove debris from streams that are known to flood in the county. So you can see these pictures. These are before aerial photographs. You can see the debris in the middle of that stream, and you can see the erosion that it's causing in the crop fields of this farmer. These are just photos taken from the ground. These are actually these are the exact same picture. One is before with the debris, and one is right after we remove the debris. And these are pictures that were taken during the project where most of the debris was removed. You can see in the picture on the left, the debris is stacked up on the bank, and then it's been removed in the next picture. More of those pictures. And on the picture on the right, you can see that where we stored the debris, we were able, through STRAP, to to remove that debris out of the 100-year floodplain. And fortunately, this farm was large enough, we moved it to a higher area on their farm, and they're going to get rid of it eventually. Just another picture, you can see the erosion that's in his farm. And you can see in that picture the debris has been removed, and you can see how the stream went back to its natural channel instead of funneling around the debris and causing the erosion. So the results of the STRAP program this year, in 2023, we received $300,000 in funding to improve impacted streams. The money was used to improve flow and functionality on 6,642 linear feet of stream in Burke County. And when these practices are implemented, it can help with flooding on landowners' properties. So this year, we have applied for more money to continue this project on Silver Creek. We have applied for around $700,000 more to finish out the project on the Silver Creek stream. We will have finished it from beginning to end if this money is allocated to us. Just some other things that are not on there. We also do conservation education. The best part of my day sometimes is I get to go into the classrooms and teach students about our natural resources and how we can conserve them. Next week we will have our Soil and Water Education Banquet where 7th and 8th grade students will present their speeches and we will give them awards. We also host 5th grade environmental field days for 5th grade students in Burke County. Fortunately, the partnership with Burke County Public Schools requires these 5th grade teachers to bring their kids to this event. We hold it at the Burke County Fairgrounds, and it's basically a hands-on review for their 5th grade end of grade science test. So they get a different perspective than sitting in the classroom being taught those things. We usually see about 800 students in one day during that event. So that's all I have if there's not any more questions.
All right, thank you, Leanne. Any questions for Leanne tonight?
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question. In looking at the streams and creeks in Burke County, Hunting Creek has been identified as a creek that's impaired. It runs from under Interstate along the property of Western Piedmont Community College, comes down through town. What efforts or measures are being taken to address that stream?
Right at the moment, from our department, not anything. We have worked, probably 15 years ago, we worked and implemented many stream restoration projects on Hunting Creek. Mm-hmm. But it's not anything that we are currently working on, but I believe the state is.
Okay.
Leanne, is the beaver management program part of the STRAP program?
Yes and no. You could use the money to remove, if it was in your scope of work that we presented for the state. So on the project that we worked on, there weren't any beaver issues. But if there was a project where beavers were in the way and causing the damage, then we could have worked with those properties if those landowners had applied.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept Leanne's report as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept her report as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. All those in favor indicate with uplifted hand. It's 5-0. Thank you, Leanne. This brings us to presentation number 5 from Tourism Development Authority. We have a financial update tonight for the period ending December 31, 2023. That'll be presented by our Director and CEO, Ed Phillips. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. Feels like spring outside the last few days, and we've really noticed it in the visitor center with folks coming in. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but first I wanted to go over the financials through the end of December 31st, 2023. I believe you have those on your screen. At a budget of $850,000 for occupancy tax collections, we'd actually collected $416,119. Those collections are always 2 months in arrears because of the methods that are used, the reporting that comes in. So we really never have a good point of view of what the actual collections are going to be until we get further into the year. But right now, we're running neck and neck with what we did last year. So we feel really good about that. One thing I want to mention is the Visitor Center. We moved the Visitor Center. We were in with Tanya and the Chamber of Commerce, and we moved to our own space on October the 9th. We're at 140 North Sterling Street. It's a beautiful visitor center, 2,500 square feet. And since we've been there, I want to share a couple of stats with you. The top 5 states that we receive visitors from, other than North Carolina, so any state other than North Carolina, the top 5, Florida, Texas, South Carolina, Colorado, and Tennessee. Yesterday in the Visitor Center, President's Day, we had visitors from South Carolina, Kansas, Utah, and Minnesota. What we have noticed in the last 7 years, is we are seeing a lot more visitors come here from further away. It used to be the top 5 states would be states that bordered North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina. Now, the number of people coming to our visitor center are from all over the United States. And so that's kind of a remarkable thing that we see in the visitor center. I'm also happy to report the North Carolina Travel Guide, the state travel guide, just came out this week. And this is mailed to people who call 1-800-VISIT-NC or do an online inquiry about coming to visit North Carolina. And every year my staff and I make presentations to the publisher of this about Burke County and what we think would be great story ideas. And this year on page 14, we have Perry's Berries Vineyard and Winery, along with the photograph that shows up there. We also have on page 62, Little Guatemala. Little Guatemala has been a real success story in our community, being featured on North Carolina Weekend multiple times, and now in our state travel guide. Lake James State Park was also featured on page 103. The unique thing featured about Lake James State Park is the new visitor center, and also the fact that we have paddle in or boat in campsites on the lake, which are very unique to state parks in North Carolina. And then actually on page 109, we have a small ad promoting Burke County in here, and we get a lot of return on our investment. When we go out and we pitch people like this and tell them the stories of Burke County, and then they tell the story for us to hundreds of thousands of people in the state travel guide. So we're happy about that. We've been in the state travel guide now consistently 4 or 5 years in a row, and we're really proud of that. That's my report.
All right, thank you, Ed. It's a great report, and let me say, if you haven't been to our visitor center, it's a beautiful new location. I'd encourage you to stop by, see Ed and his staff. Any questions for Ed tonight on his report?
Ed, you and I talk all the time, obviously, neighbor. Being with the TDA for all these years, I know we have travel writers come in. When is our next group of travel writers? Do we have that arranged yet?
So what we in the past, we have done groups of travel writers. There may be 4, 5 to 8 of them come as a group. We hosted 4 last year who were international and came from Australia, Spain, France, and Portugal. Well, no, and Brazil. Speak Portuguese in Brazil. And so they came last year and we had 4 of those. This year we're seeing more individuals that are coming, and we're hosting them and putting them up and allowing them to go out and experience the county one-on-one. So that's kind of a change, and that goes back and forth. But right now we have a couple coming in April to visit the Linville Gorge and the Pisgah National Forest and also our state park. So the next one's coming in April, but I think it's just one-on-one.
All right. Any other questions, Rick?
I don't have any questions, but I would like to echo your comments. I've actually visited a couple times now, and it was so awesome I came back. There's not a lot of places you go to when you open the door and your first feeling is wow. So well done to you and your staff.
Thank you.
It's an amazing place.
Yeah. Come visit. We're open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Saturdays starting in June. We're open 10 to 3 on Saturdays. Believe it or not, our busiest days of the week for visitors are Mondays and Fridays. Saturdays are not as busy. We believe people have already made up their mind what they're going to do that day, but we still get a few that trickle in. But it's very interesting on Mondays, because Mondays we get a lot of visitors, and that surprises a lot of people. And we had a lot yesterday on President's Day. Thank you.
All right. Do I hear a motion to accept this report as presented?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All in favor, signify by the uplifted hand. 5-0. Thank you, Ed. This brings us to item number 7, scheduled public hearings. Tonight we have one scheduled public hearing. This will be a zoning map amendment, ZMA 2023-11, and the public hearing be presented by Alan Glines, our Deputy County Manager and Planning Director. Evening, Alan.
Thank you very much, Board, members of the public. We have a rezoning request from Mr. Robert Stevens for his property located on Snipes Street. It's right off of US 64 heading north out of the county. He is requesting that his property be rezoned from industrial use to residential R3. This is a location map in general for Burke County. The property is adjacent to, and we're kind of right behind his cabinet shop. So the Stevens Cabinet Shop is located in front, and this is excess property for him that he'd like to have other uses for. Someone wants to buy that property and they want to use it residentially. His business is on 4 acres, and this request is about 5 acres. And so he has enough room, should he ever need to expand, he'd be able to do that on that existing site. So he's asking for that to be changed. And this is showing the current zoning map. So the areas in purple are zone industrial, and the areas in bright yellow is residential 3. So the request would go to R3. It's our flexible residential zoning district. In fact, we've talked about some of the other properties across from Snipes Street maybe not being needed industrially. They're too small, and we might bring something back at a future date for the board to consider for rezoning those as well to a residential use. So we'll be working on that. And this is the future land use map. Of course, that tracks pretty closely with the current zoning, and so that if that was to be changed, it would also amend that map. So we have a lot of different mix of uses in this area, but the predominant style up there is residential. So we feel that it's appropriate to make that change. The owner is not anticipating needing that 5-acre tract for any more manufacturing expansion. So he brings this to you. The planning board did review this at their meeting in December, and they recommended the change as well. So I can answer any questions for you if you have any.
All right, thank you, Alan. Any questions for Alan on this matter before I open the public hearing? All right, seeing here none, I'll open the public hearing at this time. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to this matter tonight? All right, seeing here none, I'll close the public hearing. And gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve, to adopt ordinance number 2024-01 as it relates to ZMA 2023-11, a request to rezone 5.37 acres of land on Snipes Street corresponding to PIN number 27167855150 from industrial to the residential 3 zoning district. The board finds the rezoning to be inconsistent with the future land use map because the property is currently zoned industrial, but conditions have changed in that the property is no longer needed for industrial expansion and the buyer is seeking to utilize the tract for residential purposes. The future land use map will be amended to residential infill for this property. Furthermore, the board finds that the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the Blueprint Burke future land use map supports residential uses in this surrounding area, and the plan recommends the development of additional housing units to combat the current housing shortage.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor of the motion as read, please indicate with the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that's 5-0. Thank you, Alan. This brings us to item number 8, informal public comments tonight. I would remind our speakers that there is a 3-minute limit on public comment, and that public comment is a time for just that. Public comment is not a time for question and answer. So at this time, I'll open the floor for public comments, and we have a number of pre-registered speakers, and we'll start with Patrick Stevens.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Stevens. I reside at 3515 Seals Road in western Burke County. I'm here representing myself, my wife, my family, and my neighbors. I want to thank the Burke County Commissioners and the County Manager, Brian Epley, for allowing me to be here and supplying insight to the proposed Great Meadows site. While I'm concerned about development and rezoning of the Great Meadows site, I am not opposed to landowners developing their property. I am concerned for my property taxes, the environmental impact, county and or state dollar input, and the possibility of eminent domain. Currently, my farm is on agriculture. In the past, we have raised crops and plan to do so again in the future, in my future retirement. If the surrounding property goes up in value, my tax base will go up as the pond level rises. My second concern is environmental impact. Does anybody here remember what happened September 8, 2004? There were 3 things for me. First, my 44th birthday. Second, the president of Leviton Manufacturing, Harold Leviton, passed away. And the remnant of Hurricane Francis deposited 9 inches of rain in less than 24 hours. That 9 inches of rain covered the entire western end of North Carolina. It flooded my field and Sealed Road, and the water was 5 foot deep. The water going over the spillway at Lake James is estimated at 8 feet. It was so massive, it removed half a mountain at the foot of the spillway. The water flooded many parts of Burke County, causing thousands of dollars damage to the Freedom High School football stadium, and damage beyond repair, Judge's Restaurant, and countless other businesses along the Catawba River. Our environmental concerns go back to what is planned, or hopes to be planned on the mega site. The reason I talk about the flood is to remind us that every one of us get our drinking water from the Catawba River and or the aquifer. The topography of this site is extreme and apparent in the scope of the project being downsized to 3 buildable sections. No matter what precautions are taken, no one can stop a flood that happened in 2004. Not every industry creates or uses hazardous materials, but need to be reviewed and controlled. I understand the Burke County Commissioners' desire to build up Burke County and increase its tax base. I believe you can create an environment that is welcoming to companies and protecting citizens of Burke County. I agree that part of any government is to assist in the infrastructure, such as water, sewer, and gas. But the key word, assist, not supply. Just remember that any government tax investment, no matter where it comes from our pockets, whether they be city, county, state, or federal. I would encourage the board to invest in a reasonable training and education for anyone interested in working in the possible factories that you want to bring to Burke County. Having been working as a hiring manager in several companies, it is extremely hard to find local candidates for ever-increasing technical jobs. Lastly, my concern is the eminent domain. While I was assured that such things could not happen, I've been around too long and have seen too many homeowners forced out for the better good, or offered such a low price for their property they feel defeated. I spent nearly half my life building up my property to levels I can be proud of and look forward to my retirement. Part of the retirement plan was having property to tend and entertain us. Too many of the time, I'm up. We're out of time.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Next, we have Ron Michaud.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing today?
Good evening.
We've had some meetings about financing and money, and we had a great meeting with the county the other day about minority participation in these big projects where we get at least 10 or 20%, and how we're going to contact the smaller companies to get involved with Burke County jobs. Another question, 2022, I think that year is right, correct. The county received $17.5 million from American Rescue Plan from Joe Biden. And we would like to know how this money is spent. Where does it go? We were told it's for Burke County citizens, mortgage and utilities. I'm not sure, but I'd like to sit down and talk to someone about this amount of money and how it's spent and where is it at. I'm pretty sure that I'll probably get a call from Mr. Epley or Margaret Pierce that's in the system, but we would like to know where we can start or maybe get funding. How does it get a grant or a loan? Or how does it work? So my number is 390-4068, and they have it, and they can give me a call for the next few days, and we'd like to sit down and talk to them about this situation. And also, I brought up about eight or 9 months ago, every student in Burke County is not going to college. I volunteered to help somehow get the students around and let them see what everybody does, the small businesses. We have talented students that can't afford to go to college, but they can have a good career here in the county. And this is the second time I've mentioned this. I'm not trying to get paid for it. I'm just trying to help students get off the street, put the computer down, get out, learn how to run a tractor. I've got machinery that we can go down, get a field, teach them how to put oil in it. Some of them don't even know what a shovel is. But this is something that I would like to see happen. And like I say, this is the second time I've talked about it, and I think we need to look into it. Keeps them out of prison, keeps them out of jail, driving drunk, taking drugs. Give them some responsibility. And like I say, I'm here to help, and I would like y'all to talk about it and get up with me on the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Michaud. This time we'll call Alan Keller. Mr. Keller, present. All right, we'll move on to Gary Harbison. And please state your name and address, please, for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Gary Harbison. I reside at 1306 NC 126. Good to see you, Mr. Carswell. Okay. Tonight, I'm representing Burke Coalition for Reconciliation. As you know, this group has been meeting monthly for over 3 years, and representatives has spoken at most every county commission meeting since 2021. You have heard from over 200 citizens and churches representing Burke Coalition for Reconciliation, each asking you to remove the Confederate monument from the county's central gathering place and join us in becoming actively engaged in racial equity. Tonight, I'm reporting on the Burke Coalition of Reconciliation monthly meeting. This afternoon, we had over 150 people that participated in a Black History Walk that started at the former St. Stephen's Episcopal Church on Bushell Street. There were 7 other stops: Burke County offices, City Hall, Slade's Chapel, talking about the marker, Gaston Chapel African Methodist Church, the historic Burke Courthouse Square, the Legacy Mural in the Burke County Courthouse. At each stop, a speaker shared one bit of Burke County's racial history related to that stop. After 3 years of petitioning, this community is eager to hear from you and partner with you to ensure that all symbols and signs on public property are embracing and welcoming to all citizens in Burke County. In closing, it is admirable that you show your allegiance to the American flag, but we are asking you to show your allegiance to the tax-paying citizens of Burke County. We desire to sit down and have an open dialogue about the issues regarding the Confederate monument. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harbison. This time we'll call Jeff Morse.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, staff. I want to take this opportunity first to make a personal comment. When I was going to make this presentation tonight, it reminded me that the only thing I really missed since retiring as town manager of Valdez is the opportunity to work with and associate with elected and staff officials throughout the Unifor, and in particular Burke County. This gives me that opportunity to fulfill that void, but thank you. So, on behalf of the Burke County's nonprofit organization Reason, Reduce Euthanasia and Spay and Neuter, we wish to acknowledge that February is National Spay and Neuter Month. This is a great opportunity to raise awareness about the spaying and neutering of our pets. The benefits of spaying and neutering include helping to reduce the number of healthy, unwanted cats and dogs that must be euthanized because homes cannot be found for them. The consequences of not spaying and neutering your pet are overpopulation, resulting in overcrowded shelters, euthanasia of healthy animals, feral colonies, and significant strain on the resources of rescues, county shelters, spay and neuter programs that cannot keep up with the current demand. Irresponsible pet ownership and pet overpopulation can also have a significant financial implication on our county taxpayers. Counties bear the financial burden of operating animal control facilities and shelters to handle stray and abandoned and unwanted animals. Taxpayer dollars go toward covering the costs associated with care of these animals, including housing, food, veterinary expenses, staffing, facility maintenance, and unfortunately, euthanasia costs. Addressing pet overpopulation requires a multifaceted approach involving a collaboration between government agencies, nonprofit organizations, and community members. By investing in proactive measures such as spay and neutering programs, education, and enforcement of responsible pet ownership practices, counties can mitigate the financial burden associated with pet overpopulation while also promoting animal welfare and public safety. And although there is still much to do in Burke County, it's definitely all about advancing. And well on its way with a new animal shelter in sight, animal ordinances always being reviewed, and commissioners who have the welfare of the county taxpayers and their love for homeless and abandoned animals in mind as well. Thank you for your continued support, as well as we work together to provide spay and neutering as a means of ending this problem. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Morse. At this time, we'll call Veronica Rutherford.
Good evening, I'm Veronica Rutherford from Lake James area, Bridgewater. I'm understanding that there's been property sold there for a big manufacturing to come in. I'm hoping that you'll be honest with me to tell me the truth, that it's not a battery factory, because it will kill and harm all of us. Our water system, it will poison. It will damage farmland up in there. It would damage animals that were born and raised and lived here before us, because you would damage their living home space. And I'm asking you to be serious with me. Don't make it a dollar bill that you're going to make money off of destroying property. We have cemeteries up there. We have black slave cemeteries that you're talking about getting involved with moving just for money for who? You say you need jobs. We need to educate our children to learn how to work besides killing what's here before us. Please do not sell to someone that want to put a dangerous manufacturing in our neighborhood. And the greenery, everything is gone. I have bears, deers, every animal that you name in my area, in my property. I have no hunters, and I don't want you to come in here for a buck to destroy their habitat and their water. That water system that I'm talking about will run into Morganton and damage a lot more. We do not have enough farmland and animals anymore. We need to go back to learning how to survive. And if we do that and teach our young people how to survive, and that the animals and the water is here before them, and learn to work with it and stop destroying. Not for a buck, please. This is what I'm here for. Now keep telling me you're not hearing it. You're not hearing the right thing. I keep hearing it, and I'm watching y'all, and you got people selling it for a buck. Where are they taking it? Why don't they leave it here? Why don't we grow it what we have? You have the chip mill. You have, that came in under the radar, and it damaged a lot. But at the same time, you say that area is not for business, but yet and still you're sliding business in. I'm asking you to think about the human, think about nature, think about our animals, and stop. Find another area to go. We have enough manufacturers here. You got enough closed buildings you're tearing down. Go there. Don't come up on the lake where we're trying to live in peace. And if you want concrete, then you should stay in the city area. Don't bring concrete to the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rutherford. Now we'll call Meredith Adams, please.
Hi, I'm Meredith. I live at 2475 US 70 West. It's up in the rezoning area that Great Lakes is talking about developing. I am here to tell you guys about that property. My grandparents were the first people to purchase that property back in the early 60s. They not only raised my mother there, but my mother then raised me there. My brother now has grandchildren who are the 5th generation in our family to be on that land and in that area. To develop that would take away everything that is nice about it. You have bears and deers that come through that you get to see, and to remove the trees would remove their home. Also, a mile down the road is our church. It is now known as Snow Hill Church. That church has been there since the 1800s. I have a lot of my family buried at that church. Rezoning this would make the land behind that church where our prayer garden is an industrial place. I can't think of what would happen to not only the population of our church, which I'm sure you guys know that churches kind of struggle now to keep people inside. And having to go to church next door to a factory doesn't exactly sound very pleasant. My brother lives on a mile in the other direction with his children and grandchildren. There is also Bell Farm that is down in that area, which the water that comes through from the factory is going to affect the crops. And at Bell Farm, they grow mostly hay, which is going to go to more animals and affect more people whenever they in turn eat those animals. And something that I thought was very interesting was that Burke County's slogan is nature's playground. And we get a lot of tourists and people that come just to see Lake James and just to be in that area and be with nature. I don't know exactly how comfortable people would feel about swimming in toxic water and trying to relax next to smoke clouds. That doesn't sound like a good time to me. If we are nature's playground, then we need to keep nature involved. There's an industrial park on exit 96, maybe 3 or 4 miles from this, that has never been used. I don't know why it was even bulldozed and put there. It's been there, I know, at least 10 years, and it's just vacant. So there's places for this to go, but not up in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Now we'll call for Carla Adams.
Adams, and I live at 2475 Highway 70. I was raised there by my parents. When you exit Dyserville Road, you go by, you're already in a welcoming area, the woods, it's quiet, it's full of trees, wildlife, nice homes. And it's hard to imagine how relaxing it is at our house when we lift the bedroom window and it's raining and you hear the rain through the woods. It's very relaxing. It's very nice to see the animals run through the backyard. And the air is fresh and clean. Now imagine the sounds of that factory in your backyard. The toxic chemicals, the carbon dioxide emissions, and hazardous byproducts. And no matter how much you promise that it'll be clean energy, it will definitely come at a cost. A cost of ground air pollution, noise, wildlife. It'll cost the neighborhoods. People will not want to be there. And potential buyers who are already looking at Lake James, they get off Dyserville Road. They go by there. How do you think they're going to feel when the first thing they see is a factory? They're not going to want to build up at Lake James like they are. So there are many negative reasons for building this, and honestly, there's not any positive. And you say, well, there's jobs. There's jobs everywhere that they can find, not in a factory in your backyard. You wouldn't like that in your backyard. So think about what you're trying to do to a neighborhood. It'll run that and potential buyers for Lake James. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Carla Kincaid.
Good evening. Newsweek in 2020 had this in their Newsweek magazine. A lot of other people did too. A lot of other stations, Tennessee, ABC, NBC, CBS, a lot of your major networks. And I think I've mentioned to you guys before when I was in Kentucky, you were in the news in Kentucky. Well, we're around to that time again. It's election time, and the flag's down in the eastern part of the state. I'm not sure if it's not state, in county. It's down again. And Newsweek magazine read, over the July the 4th weekend, this was 2020, the Sons of Confederate group raised a 20 by 30 flag, which replaced a smaller flag that flew over the Interstate 40 in East Burke County. This was in response to the statues being torn down following a conversation sparked by the Black Lives Matter movement. Matt Galliard, represented the Sons of Confederate, stated they were replacing the statue with flags, and we put them up on the I-40 so more people could see them. The mayor at that time, Wendy Hildebrand, she had numerous calls saying that they wouldn't do business in the town because of that flag. The money could be better used to help veterans. Another article read, there were more news about the massive flags, but the heading stated it was following the presidential election. Another flag was raised over the massive flag was raised over the Interstate 40 after taking one down for much of the election season. So I guess it's election time, it's down again. The claim made by the supporters was the Christian flag was there. That's what I saw in Kentucky. It was taken down and was being put back up to honor veterans and local churches. I don't know what churches those were. I know there are a lot of churches that's probably supporting that. Now that the election is over, the flag was put back up. That's what another one read. We'll be back to election time again. All this was on Reddit. It was on Raleigh News and Observer, WRAL as far as Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, ABC News, CBS, ABC 12, Seattle Times. I know it was in Kentucky. So here we are again, and it's going to be an eyesore again for Burke County. Here we go again with this same old stuff again that's not going to point to everything as being good in Burke County. It's going to be in the news, and we got a long time before the general election. I don't know how long the flag's going to be down, but why play games with it? To me, it didn't make any sense that this was happening. And I also wanted to know, what's the cost for the upkeep of the statue on the square? Who's responsible for the upkeep of the statue on the square? What keeps it from turning gangrene? Or maybe it's something that's built this. Also, I'd just like to say this is during Black History Month. Black History Month, honoring Black History Month. Primary elections all happen at the same time. It will come in the news again, I promise you. And probably the statue will come along with it this time. Being at the end of each county, welcoming you in, and saying goodbye out, the flags. But they're not there. That's a pretty good thing, I guess. Deal. Black History Month. Don't forget, everyone, to join us at the Black History Festival on Saturday, this Saturday. We're looking forward to seeing some of you candidates, as well as the present commissioners, there to help us learn more about the Black history here in the county as well as in the nation. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Kincaid. Now we'll call Wendell Fox.
Good evening.
Evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed commissioners, Mr. Epley. Today I come before you not only as a citizen of the county, a general contractor, but as a victim of injustice perpetuated by Burke County. I'm the owner of Fox Built Construction. My company undertook the construction of the convenience center on Jonas Ridge. And we did so with integrity and professionalism despite facing challenges along the way. Throughout the project, we maintained open communication with Burke County officials concerning all the issues, seeking solutions for every obstacle. We were told that the groundbreaking had to be done on a certain day. We informed the county that if the groundbreaking was done on that day, there would be no bond on the job because the bond was still in underwriting. We were told to proceed, so we did. We ran into unsuitable soils. We approached the county with a fair and transparent process, allowed them to choose their own engineering firm, monitor the excavation meticulously, account for every yard of dirt in and every yard of dirt out, ensuring that the work was done according to industry standards and the utmost efficiency. Burke County's acknowledgement of the quality work is evident in the words by their own county manager, who told me personally, "We know you did the work is good, we have the money, we want to pay you." Yet despite this acknowledgement, they failed to fulfill their obligations. Instead of honoring their commitment, Burke County has resorted to evasive tactics, including using unjustified, unofficial UCC filings, which have no weight in a court of law. They've caused undue financial hardship, basically ruined my business, put 47 Burke County residents out of work. Their actions not only defy the principles of fairness and honesty, but also undermine the very foundation of contractual agreements. I was promised by Mr. Epley 3 times for payment, only to have him call each time and tell me that he could not pay. In the face of mounting legal expenses, Burke County has chosen to prolong this ordeal rather than fulfill their obligations to pay for the services rendered. In the restroom of the Cleveland County Courthouse, I overheard Burke County's outside counsel that they hired tell one of my debtor's clients, counsels, that they need not worry about getting any money from him, but from the county, because they were not going to pay me a penny. So, in closing, we started with a prayer. I just ask you to remember Timothy 5:18. The worker is worthy of his wage.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. This time we'll hear from Dudley Green.
Hello, County Commissioners. My name is Dudley Green. I'm from Burke County. I don't know what we're going to do with this great metal site up here. The money, the $35.8 million that the state allocated is all going towards water, sewer, and pad planting. and nothing towards the infrastructure of the highways. The main highways to Lake James are from 40 to Dodgerville to Savage to Bridgewater. And you're planning on having a train going across Highway 70. That's a little bit ridiculous, if you ask me. It needs to be at least an overpass. It's already a dangerous highway. And that's going to affect your tourism in this county. That's the main route that most of them take. That's what the nav things say to them, the GPS. And that's the way they go. They don't want to see all this destruction and stuff and traffic. And that lake is the primary driver of $133 million from 2022 in tourism. You want to kill that cow to put it over here in this nasty construction, and it may contaminate our water supply, which is at the headwaters of the Catawba River and everybody down the line. I know that's where I get my water from. And I feel like there's a little bit of malfeasance office here with these commissioners. You're not looking after the interests of the people of Burke County. You're looking after the interests of people wanting to invest in Burke County. And that's not right. And I don't think it's right that the commissioner here, Mr. Britton, is on the board of directors for BDI as a vice chairman. And that, to me, is malfeasance. And Mr. Epley, the county manager, to me would be all right because he's not the one that makes decisions and he reports to you. Why can't he be on that board? That's absolutely wrong. It's just crooked to me. And if you look on the agenda at closed session under 13, that's where all the decisions are made. Because that's where you discuss economic development matters. You don't discuss those in public. You don't do that. Well, this is just for comments. And when is that going to take place, if ever? It seems like Mr. Wood is running this county. He's a 501c3 nonprofit. He doesn't have to post anything about what's done with this money. And that relieves you of the responsibility as elected officials to take care of this money and give us transparency into what's happening. We're not getting transparency. We're absolutely not. It's all happening behind these doors and they're closed and locked to the public. And that's the way I feel about it. And that's it. And let me give you a couple things my dad told me. He said there's only two types of politicians, the ones that have been caught and the ones that haven't. And another one about figures. Figures don't lie, but liars figure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Joanna Kenty? Did I get close?
Okay, Joanna Kinch from Lake James area. Yeah, we're here about the mega site again. Don't want it, don't need it, and everything everybody said is spot on. Just here to clear up a few things that there's been rumor that people are spreading misinformation about the mega site. Well, I'm representing like 2,500 voters and people in this community who have signed a petition opposing the mega site, don't want it, and we're not spreading misinformation, we're spreading information because you all are not giving us any information. I wish the Snipes display that they had up here, the 5-minute little Snipes display, could have been the mega site display over the last 5 meetings that we've had about the mega site. But no information, just crickets. And Mr. Epley's giving his fireside chat along with Mr. Mulvey, but I don't really consider that a chat because nobody's in the room except the two of you. And there's a lot of misinformation in your fireside chats. And I encourage everybody to go watch the fireside chat because it talks for about 10 minutes about economic development and jobs, which everybody has said it's nice to have jobs, but not at the cost of what you guys are doing off of Desertsville. And also, let's give you some statistics here. Not statistics, some facts. you're saying that only 70% of those acres, 1,400 acres that you're purchasing. Now, a mega site is, for everybody who doesn't know, a mega site has to be 1,000 acres or more, is that correct? In order to get the big dogs in, to build their big industrial sites, it could be Chinese land grabbers. That's what it probably is, lithium sites, electric vehicle. And those aren't from my words, those are from your all's words from the News Herald magazine, or News Herald newspaper that you quoted, saying that it's going to be there's a lithium plant mine, and it's going to be lithium batteries. It could be electric vehicles. The bigger the better, it's quoted. Alan Woods has said, I'll do whatever it takes to get the land ready for this site. What do you think that means? That means clearing out the land so that it can sit like the Kathy Road site sat. 70% of non-usable acres is what you said. That's 980 acres that are unusable, which amounts to, based on the $26 million or whatever you're paying for the land, $17.6 million that you don't have to spend because you don't need those acres. But you need the acres because you're trying to bring in the big dogs, the big builders, the big industry that's going to pollute, contaminate, destroy the groundwater, destroy the system. And not to mention that you didn't mention in your chat is the train spur that you're putting across Highway 70 that they have already talked about. A railroad spur leading right into the mega site industrial building that you're planning on building. Now, why don't you be transparent and tell everybody what's really coming our way? And I suggest everybody go fight the mega site and sign the petition.
Thank you, Ms. Kent. Alice Johnson.
Hi, I'm Alice Johnson, and I live at 3876 Pea Ridge Road. And my property, I own 28.5 acres. That's right along the proposed mega site area. And I can tell you for a fact that there is numerous animals that live there that will be negatively affected. Not just the animals, but the watershed. There's water creeks that are not flowing all the time, but 80% of the time the creeks are flowing, going right into Mud Creek, which is also going right into the Catawba River, which provides water for Burke County, for all the way down into Charlotte and that. If we put a mega site there with industrial, that's going to affect everybody downstream. I can tell you that my property alone has numerous types of wildlife: deer, wild turkeys, bear, bobcats, foxes, hawks, and I'm sure there's a lot of other critters that are there that I haven't seen. But that, and I have 2 artesian wells that the water just comes out of the side of the mountain, and they start a stream, and that stream flows right into Mud Creek. So there again, if you put a mega site in that spot, which adjoins my property, that's going to affect that water table, which will affect the stuff downstream. So it's going to be an environmental nightmare and hazard for the air quality, for the land, for the environment, and for the nature of the excuse me, the economy there. Again, I want to express my concerns about that because that's what people come to Burke County for, is the pristine and the nature, to see that animals, to see the trees and stuff. And like the guy that talked about the visitor center earlier, that he has people coming from all over the place now to come to see Burke County. They're not going to come if there's all kinds of industrial sites everywhere. So I just want to say that this is a bad idea, and I'm speaking not just for myself, but for, like they said earlier, over 2,500 plus people have signed a petition against this. It is not what the Burke County residents want. It's what the politicians want, It's what the commissioners are wanting because it looks good. It's not a legacy for Burke County. It's a legacy for our grandchildren in the future to live in an environment that is hazardous. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ann Chapman.
I'm Ann Chapman. I live at 5909 Old Highway 70 West at the old loop, and I'm here representing many people that are against the mega site because Wood said that he will work to remove anything they can think of that would be an issue for a potential end user of the site. So I've decided I'm taking it upon myself to inform other people in my area that I'm going to do everything that I can to prevent this from happening as well, because I grew up here. I don't see the need for that. It would impede and hurt our environment. It would hurt where I live. What's going to happen? I'm concerned, and I don't get good answers. Yeah, I could meet, but the stories have changed. So I'm just sad that I have to come and beg and plead to people for what I've worked for. It's just not a good thing, and I don't feel like Burke County is Burke County anymore. You know, what happened to things? Washington, Raleigh, yeah, you expect that, but when it comes to Burke County, and you have people saying they don't want something, but yet it's being pushed. We don't want it. You know, it's not good for our environment. Yes, we can have economic growth. We could do good things in this area. We could do numerous things in the area. Work with us. I live right there. I'd be more than willing to say it. My neighbors would be more than willing to help and say, if we need jobs, let's figure out something that's suitable for that area. You know, we don't have to bring in massive productions and destroy what's there that is good use for our county. So I don't want to be coming and begging and pleading for something that I've worked for, and I grew up here, and I pay my taxes. And I don't think anybody else wants to be begging and pleading. You know, you get tired of hearing people saying, we don't want this. You know, just listen. I'm wanting you to listen to me as a homeowner right there by myself, living in the area that I love and grew up in. You know, consider this. Don't do it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Chapman. And that's all the speakers we have this evening. This time I'll close the public comment period. This brings us to item number 9, consent agenda. I'll recognize our county manager, Mr. Epley, to review the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brief consent agenda for consideration this evening. Each of these items, as you know, are in your packet and presented during your pre-agenda meeting. The first item for consideration is budget amendment number 7 on the year. The county has received an additional $33,319 in state aid for the library, and we're asking to budget that for the acquisition of additional books. Item 2 for consideration is the financial presentation for the quarter ending December 31, 2023 for Burke County Public Schools. Item 3 for consideration is a resolution that would authorize the county to dispose of a service weapon for a sheriff's officer and badge, which was fully qualified for, and the sheriff's office asking for consideration of that item. Item 4 from the tax department is your collection report for January 2024. Item 5, also from the tax department, is your release and refund report for January 2024. And finally, for consideration, item 6, which is the quarter ended December 31, 2023 financial information for Western Piedmont Community College. Happy to answer any questions you may have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions on any of these items? See and hear none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That is 5-0. Item number 10 tonight, items for decision. I have 2 items. First item comes from the county manager, approval of auditor and contract for audit services. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board's well aware, statutorily you all have to select an external CPA auditor to fulfill the requirements of reviewing the county's books. drafting and reviewing drafted financial statements. We've had the same audit firm relationship since 1995, and our team felt that it was an appropriate time to evaluate that. So we've submitted a RFP, request for proposal, just to solicit interested CPA firms across the state that obviously have to be included, again, as we talked earlier with the earlier presentation, approved by the Local Government Commission to do county and city municipal audit. We've done that. Those have come back. We've assembled an audit committee. Commissioner Britton sat on that. We interviewed firms the early, kind of late part of last week, and have selected a firm, Thompson Price, Scott and Adams. That contract is in your packet for review. I've, of course, shared it with the county attorney, and we're asking for the approval of Thompson Price, Scott and Adams as the audit firm for our upcoming audit for June 30th, 2024, at a price, I believe, of $49,500.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions on this item? See and hear none, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams and Company, PA, as Burke County's auditor for FY 2023-2024, and authorize the chairman to execute the related contract in the amount of $49,500 on behalf of the board, subject to review and/or revision by the county attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that's 5-0. This brings us to item 2 on items for decision. Comes from our Health Department, resolution directing expenditure of opioid settlement funds for a number of uses. This will be presented by Dr. Katie Hornaday with our, who is our Human Services Director. Good evening, Katie.
Thank you. Good evening. So I'm bringing to you a budget resolution or budget request to fund items under option A of the North Carolina Memorandum of Agreement for the use of opioid settlement funding. So these strategies were developed from our opioid settlement work group, and they support the county's priorities also as far as workforce development and public health and safety. And these are fundamental elements of developing our long-term spending plan. So each one of these items fits into the long-term goal of the 5-year strategic plan for the use of opioid settlement dollars. So the first intervention is to fund our peer mentor network, Peers Partnering for Excellence, which is called PPE. And this is a unique initiative for North Carolina. I'm not aware of any other county spending their opioid settlement dollars to fund and support a peer network group, which is really progressive because it's given you all a direct pipeline to individuals with lived experience that can inform our strategic plan and also make recommendations to this board. So it's making that connection between leadership, local government, and the people that are living and doing the work in Burke County. So this, our PPE group will serve as our recovery advisory committee, and they will also help us develop a partnership with Western Piedmont Community College as we're looking at the human services curriculums and establishing peer support certification in Western Piedmont Community College. The next initiative is a qualitative research project that would develop tools and collect information regarding the voices of people in recovery. And this initiative stems from some stigma and beliefs that people that are living with addiction don't get into recovery. So we want to start reducing that stigma by spreading the message of hope that people can get into recovery, and how they were able to achieve recovery, which will also help inform our strategic plan. The next initiative is consulting services to help us develop our 5-year or long-term spending plan. So this will allow us to complete the collaborative strategic planning process, and we'll be able to unlock more options in the NCMOA under option B. And we will be able to establish a reporting and evaluation process with this as well. And then finally, our last request is for the overdose fatality review. This also is, we have the first OFR FAST team in the state. So really proud of some of these things. They're very progressive. This review board looks at fatalities on a case-by-case basis to develop recommendations for interventions to prevent future fatalities from happening from overdose. And the public health and safety team aspect of this is what makes it unique to North Carolina, because we're not only looking at case reviews, but we're looking at the overarching public health data to prevent communicable disease, do harm reduction, and look at the county's health as a whole, in addition to doing the case-by-case reviews. So the total request is for $126,500. You all have previously approved $310,000 for a substance use coordinator, which is my position, and $10,000 for naloxone purchase. Our total deposits for fiscal year 22 to 23 were $1,745,171, which would leave an unallocated amount of $1.3 million. And then we are also expecting deposits for fiscal year 23-24 of $3.4 million. And this is public information that can be found on the opioid settlement dashboard, ncopioidsettlement.org. And so if you all have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
All right, thank you, Dr. Von Duke. Any questions for Katie on this matter?
I don't have any questions, just a quick comment. I appreciate the time earlier in the month that you spent with me to help get me up to speed on this decision. And I just want to say wholeheartedly that I support your efforts. And we've got to do something that moves the needle for our families. And this is a good beginning in my mind.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2024-02.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to adopt resolution number 2024-02.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. All right, thank you, Dr. Fonda.
Thank you.
Brings us to item 11, reports and comments. I'll open the floor at this time to receive reports and comments from the board and staff, and we'll start down there with Ms. Margaret.
No comments. Thank you, sir.
Nothing from me tonight. Thank you, sir.
Just wanted to thank the park superintendent at Lake James State Park for hosting our upcoming budget meetings.
No comments.
Nothing from me, sir.
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
No comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be leaving this meeting just as soon as it's over to go to Durham along with the sheriff. We will be meeting an opioid strategy meeting for the One More Thing presidential initiative. One of the things that we've discovered across the state of North Carolina that a number of sheriffs, maybe old-time sheriffs, have just, when we come to drug-addicted people, is lock them up and throw away the key. I'm very thankful our sheriff doesn't believe that. There is medically assisted treatment called MAT. There's also MOUD. We've got a lot of acronyms now. So we'll be meeting with our team again in Raleigh tomorrow to finalize strategy. And as far as Dr. Varnado's report, I presented that report in Washington, D.C. last week. There is no other state in the United States of America that's doing what we're doing here in North Carolina, and especially what we're doing here in Burke County. We are the leader in assisting those people that have substance use disorders. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any other comments tonight. I will make several courtesy reminders. March the 5th, Burke Commission pre-agenda meeting at 3 p.m. March 7th and 8th, we'll be conducting our budget retreat beginning at 9 a.m. at the Lake James State Park Visitor Center in Nebo. I remind you again to spay and neuter pets and adopt pets. Be sure to check out our animal services folks. Again, as we enter the litter sweep process, I would remind you to cover your loads, go into the convenience centers and pick up trash, and simply don't throw it out. Don't let it get away from you. We did previously have scheduled our opening of our East Burke Waste and Recycling Convenience Center, but due to weather and other issues that have caused some delay, we'll be rescheduling that in the future. So keep an eye out for that rescheduling. So at this time brings us to item number 12, vacancy announcements, and Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen of the audience. We have the following opportunities for citizens to be engaged in county boards and committees: the Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, City of Morganton Board of Adjustment, and the Planning Board for the ETJ areas, Council on Aging, Burke County Board of Health, Hickory Regional Planning Commission, and the Drexel Planning Board ETJ alternate.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. As always, lots of opportunity for service in our county. I would invite those of you in the audience here tonight or watching on other media to consider what you might be able to do to help on some of these committees and groups. This brings us to item number 12 tonight. Closed session. We do not have a need for closed session tonight. And so with that, I would entertain a recess motion to March the 7th, 2024 at 9 a.m. at the Lake James State Park Visitor Center located at 2229 Lake James State Park Road, Nebo, North Carolina. Do I hear a motion to accept that?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. All those in favor signify by the uplifted hand. That is 5-0, Madam Clerk. We stand in recess. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight.